Okay. Anyway, it's great to be back. Slappers Only is here, but it's not going to be your typical Slappers Only today. Uh, I would have loved to have it come back as our typical, just off the cuff, no holds barred conversation. But and we'll get back to that. But today we got to get real with some things today. Today's topic is going to be kind of rough, um, but it's got to be something we all have to talk about. In fact, Steven sent me a text, which led to a phone call. He's like, "We got to talk about it." And today we're going to be talking about this: what happened in Minneapolis, uh, the killing of George Floyd, the protests that are going all around not the world, the country. Um, just talk about general the race relations and the civil unrest that we got going on here in the U.S. And it's something that, excuse me, it's something that really, like I said, it has to be talked about. It's something we can't ignore. And I think it's a conversation that would be good for everybody from both aspects, all sorts of aspects to talk about. So that's what it is today. Slappers Only is, we're going to go back to entertaining you, to being that show that you can escape and just do whatever. But today we have to talk about it. Uh, and just, I gave you a little brief background of how this started up. But it was honestly, and I shouldn't say, but it was something that Steven brought up to me. Normally, we kind of try to stay away from political stuff like that, just because it's kind of a touchy subject, and we don't want everybody to every stuff.
By the way, Frankie Mermaid is Hobby.
Oh, Hobby, what's going on, man? It's been a long time. We're going to get back to superhero stuff. We're going to get back to just silly stuff, but we gotta real or talk about it. And Steven, like I said, is the one who gave me a text and we talked. And Steven and I, we talk a lot. We have a lot of deep conversations. I'm not saying we know each other's deepest, darkest secrets, but he brought up something that I kind of knew about, but it was still like, oh, because if you see Steven today, the guy is just a stand-up, salt of the earth guy, really progressive. But but Steven, talk about what you told me whenever we had that phone call.
Okay, so one thing that I've talked to only a few people about, because again, this is something that's like a touchy subject, and I know that, like, without knowing somebody really well, having this knowledge of their past. Sorry, I bumped my desk. Everything started shaking. Like having the knowledge of somebody's past can end up actually influencing the way you feel about them today. And so but I feel like, again, now is the time for education and hope, honestly. And I would like to think that my story can provide that same level of hope for other people. That I was raised in a pretty racist environment. I was raised in a very conservative Southern home, small town Oklahoma, about as conservative as it gets. And I was raised to be scared of the big scary black man. Like that was how I was raised to feel. And a lot of times growing up, I was that guy. I was like, not to the same degree as other people, but in the end, it's all the same thing, just the different degree. And I was the kind of guy that would stereotype and make racial jokes because I thought that, it was funny and it was like projecting my insecurities on somebody else. And it was not the way to live. And after I got out of high school and started moving off to these other areas where I actually got to meet black people, get to know them and understand them as people just like me, I started realizing that there's, like, why is racism a thing? And then I started realizing and doing my own research on it and realizing that it's all rooted in ignorance. it's rooted in this idea that you need to be scared of something that's different from yourself. And if I would like to think that as heavily in that culture as I was growing up, being able to climb out of that and realize that people are people, that I can't understand the life that a lot of African Americans have to go through in today's political climate, and in urban environments and things. I know now that I can't understand that, and it's allowed me to realize that the best I can do is empathize and be there as a friend. And so yeah, I was raised in a racist environment and raised to be racist and scared of people other than myself. And that goes beyond blacks. It's Hispanics, Muslims, the typical scared of anything different than yourself. I was raised in a homophobic environment, and it's just when I realized that's an entirely ignorant and stupid way to live, I decided that that's not who I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's, I guess coming from a big city, you see all walks of life.
Yeah, some of y'all may not know that you're from
I'm
Philly.
from Philadelphia. Yeah. And so even as a little kid, I mean, I've known Middle Eastern people. One of my best friends was from the Philippines. It was never a big deal. Now, 8 years old, I moved to McAlester, Oklahoma. My dad he worked for the government, so he got transferred down here. And it was a big culture shock because you were used to seeing like it's everything, all colors of the rainbow, and you get here and it's not that. It is definitely not that. But I wouldn't say when it comes to the racial aspect of things, I got my first kind of, I guess, experience with it. I already had to shut down Walmart.
Here in McAlester, because TikTok's from McAlester.
Oh my goodness!
I'll be monitoring that situation.
Yeah. Wow. So my first little experience of it was, I think it was in like the fourth or fifth grade, walking back home, and I was vivid. Walking home, because home wasn't more than maybe 5-6 blocks from my house, and two white guys in the red truck starts to chase me, and literally try to run me off the sidewalk, do whatever. Back then, I was pretty svelte, and so I ran home, and I never forgot that. It was like my only kind of experience. Now, it was like low key, like like you said, joking wise and everything like that. And then I get the comment, "Oh, he's fine. It's Jor-El. He's not really black," kind of thing. Which was like, that's when I started to really, pay attention. I always give people the benefit of the doubt, but it's not. Oh, so I don't know you by your screen names.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we've had that discussion before. It's been a while, but yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, if you give me your, my fault. Sorry about that. But so he knows where I lived too back in the day. Eugene Field, that's where we went. So anyway, but nowadays it just seems so prevalent, you know what I'm saying? It seems it's scary, to be honest. I don't really. I guess I've learned how to cope with it, but it's a hard thing to watch on the news or something like that about another person of color dying at the hands of law enforcement. And mind you, let me just say this right now. Not anti-cops, no nothing. I know people that are on, work for McAllister PD. I'm not doing that. I'm not saying all anti-cops or anything like that because, yeah, I know who you are, Jody. um, but it's a sad thing that a small rotten bunch can spoil a lot. You know what I'm saying? And this past Memorial Day seemed like it was the tip of the iceberg. Not even the tip of the iceberg. It was the boiling point.
Yeah. Well, the one that separated this one, I think, from a lot, like for people who are always kind of on the fence, or even like a lot of your like mild cop apologists, because I know, living here, we know a lot of those. We know a lot of cop apologists, but like, this is something I found out yesterday that me and you haven't even talked about yet. But I found out that even my dad, who was part of my upbringing, he even said that man was cold-blooded murdered on camera in front of everyone, as plain as day. From start to finish, we saw that man was murdered with intent, because it came from a guy with a history. The cop had history. Right. And on top of that, he was using a maneuver that you are not taught as a cop, and he held him down there while he was already handcuffed until he stopped breathing. And the reason, and there's this whole thing about, the autopsies are showing this, that, and the other. Well, Hobby actually brought up a great point. I don't know if me and you talked about this, but Hobby brought up a great point. He watched that video 36 times, and he is still convinced that it was like a Von Flew blood choke. He wasn't suffocated or strangled like the autopsy showed. He wasn't, but his carotid arteries were cut off on both sides, one by the knee and one by the road, until the blood stopped flowing. And whenever he passed out and they held him there even longer, it just shut him down.
Yeah. That's we should be thankful about people being vigilant about stuff and people recording it, because I was reading an article, and could you imagine if that wasn't recorded? It would not have. It would have been probably swept under the rug, because you can't really trust people's hearsay, especially stuff with law enforcement, because guess what? It's their word against yours, right?
Exactly.
So,
I mean, look at the first time in our generation that police brutality in a racial sense was caught on camera.
Telling Rodney King.
We've actually talked about that on our show when we talked about the 90s. That changed things, and now. Some people will sit there and say, well, you need to be doing something and not recording it. Well, here's the thing. If you go in there and try to jump on him, you're going to lose your phone. They're going to confiscate it.
Right.
The footage isn't going to get out there. And again, it turns into your word versus theirs. Yeah. And now everything is being recorded.
Absolutely.
Everything.
Well, which it should be.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's actually me and you we're going to probably kind of call back a lot of conversations that we had. But remember when Childish Gambino's "This Is America" came out, and we analyzed that song and that video for days at work? Yeah, it was at work. And we talked about the lyrics where he says, something about the celly, that's a tool. Yeah. Cell phones are a tool. Like that. That's one of the interpretations of it. And it's a tool to be able to finally expose this to people who didn't believe it, because they just believe that, military or police, word is law. Yeah. And now we're beyond that. People need to understand that these guys are supposed to be upholding the law, not be above it. You can't uphold it from above.
Yeah. No, that's social media. A lot of people, and some of it is for horrible. Steven, you're a wrestling fan. I heard about the Japanese lady wrestler that committed suicide because of cyberbullying. So social media can be a horrible thing, but at the same time, it does things like this. Not only that, but I mean, for good, brings families together that are, separated for long parts and everything like that. But that's something that we have to accept. But anyway, I'm sorry, somebody just walked in the room. Kind of, but with this part, it's given everybody the glimpse that they didn't want to believe. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want to know. Like, they wanted to believe that no matter what color, okay, the guy who got arrested, the guy who got beat up, the guy who whatever deserved it because he did something that was completely wrong.
Yeah. Because
Right.
if you want to break down the racial barrier, remember the guy in the hotel that was like really drunk, and he was just in the hallway, and they told him, put your hands down. You make a single mistake, and we will kill you. First off, you can't do that.
Right.
Non-compliance doesn't equal death, and they
Right.
wanted him to crawl towards him, and he did. He kind of reached back to pull his shorts up, and they murdered him right there in the hallway.
And it's
Thank
just
you for that, host
it's
Lucas. But
Lucas, oh, that was one. By the way, he can see all that stuff. I can't.
yeah, I'll be monitoring the hosts and the thank yous for the alerts. By the way, I don't know if I actually said it. TikTok, thank you for the host as well.
But if we, let's now talk about, I guess, the protests going on, because that's obviously the big thing right now is the protest. And some part of me is, not a part of me, a lot of me is really proud of what's going on, because it's kind of, it's enough. This one, I should have been, who was it, Breonna Taylor?
Yeah,
Before
Louisville, right?
Yeah, just got shot
In her own home. That happened in Dallas not too long ago too. Remember, the woman was babysitting her nephew, and they were playing video games, and they shot her from outside of her bedroom window.
Yep.
That guy's facing charges, but the fact remains that it happened. That is not something that people need to happen. And
yeah, absolutely.
The way the cops are even reacting to peaceful protests, just firing paint canisters at people's front porches and firing mace and pepper balls and tear gas into these peaceful crowds, which we're seeing. We are seeing some. It's everywhere. It's literally on all ends of the spectrum right now.
Yeah, and here's the thing: if we're going to discuss I guess let's just bring up the looting. Okay, it's wrong. Shouldn't happen. However, and here comes, the part of it is, if we're already in civil unrest, this is just boiling over. This is, I was talking to you earlier. I will read stories, and I would just go into the see what replies are and everything like that. And obviously,
sometimes we like to hurt ourselves. I understand.
Yeah, some of it's just awful. But the thing is, people are using the looting to overshadow what's happening. And I think, sure, a Target is getting looted. Their windows are being busted open and everything. But I don't understand if they understand the point.
Right. See, and that's another thing that even my mom said. She said that she heard somebody say something that because she's very anti-looting and rioting, but one of the things she said that really kind of caught me off guard, because it's just one of those things you don't expect to hear from certain people in your family, is what was it? The way she worded it, she said, "I saw some guy on the news say something that I had to agree with, and it was that we don't necessarily need to be doing this, and a lot of us don't want to, but we need the attention on this."
Absolutely.
Just like we talked about this earlier in the store when me and Lucas came to visit. The peaceful protest, Kaepernick took the knee, and they ran him out of the NFL for it.
Yeah,
they tried to do it peaceful.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring him up in a little bit, but and we'll go back to him. But because I have to shut down. Well, it's like I'm not going to. The platform is, but anyway, the looting shouldn't be what everybody is paying attention to. Granted, it's bad, it's destroying cities. But like you said, it's attention. It's like, hey, we can do the peaceful thing. We can do the non-violent, which is something that we can do the non-violent thing and move on. But sometimes, even when you're peacefully protesting, people are getting, like you said, pepper sprayed, tear gas is being thrown in there. Reporters are being hit for some reason and being arrested. Like, this is the crazy part. Now, if you want to talk about Kaepernick, which is so funny, because now, not a lot of people are still saying you shouldn't have done, not during the game, not during that song. And I'm not going to say that song, the national anthem. But peacefully using his platform that reaches millions of people, like you said, they ran him out. Why? Because they didn't want to hear it. They wanted to put, their rose-colored glasses on and watch some football. And what he was really doing is like, hey, what happened Memorial Day? What's been happening for 5-10 years, even more? Mm. All he's doing is taking a knee. And here's the purpose why. But people wanted to, just like the looting, wanted to make it about something else, and not the real. Steven, you can.
Yeah, no, I'm in 100% agreement with you on this, because, like, the crazy thing about it is, I come from the whole, undying patriotism type of family, just like a lot of other people around this area. But I was one of those that looked at it at first. I was the same way. Like, come on, during the national anthem, during the football game. But then, as I started taking off, as you said, the rose-colored glasses, I started seeing, like, the point in it. I wanted to believe that he was the bad guy for it at the time, and that there was a better way to go about it. And then I started. I'll tell you that the turning point for me was when what was his name? The one that was in Charlotte. The one that was shot because he was just reading a book.
I don't.
It sparked the Charlotte riots. I want to say, was it Eric Scott? Was it something Scott? I think was his name. Yeah, he hasn't showed you, but he has a list.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was shot, and the riots broke out in Charlotte, and Charlotte was burning because of it. And it was the same thing as what's going on here. It's police killing an unarmed black man. That's what happened. What separated, or what opened my eyes out of that time frame, was being from Oklahoma. We saw that there was actually peaceful protest marches going on in Tulsa. There were church-led protests. There were peaceful marches. But outside of Oklahoma, nobody knew about them because it didn't sell, so they weren't covering it. The nationwide media was not covering it because it didn't have what people wanted, what people would tune in to see. Not necessarily what they wanted to see, but what they would watch. And that was what made me realize that peaceful protests just aren't working because they don't get the attention of people. And that's why he had to get up there and use his platform to stir things up. He became a martyr.
Right.
Yeah, and all these people, I want to throw this little subtle jab out there. All these people are like, well, I'm never buying a pair of Nikes again since they used him as their bitch, you wear New Balances. Shut up.
Yeah. But that's the thing is, like I said, my dad served in the military. Okay. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure if he was around today, whenever he did that, when Kaepernick did that, like a lot, and I want to say this, like a lot of other men and women of the military understood what he was doing. But for some reason, and yeah, like rose-colored glasses, they didn't want to hear it. For some reason, it was all about their their football and now their rights to, not their rights, but their belief, the morality of why during that song. Um, I've heard people say, yeah, I don't mind him protesting, but not at that time. Maybe in the locker room. Maybe, you know, during while the game is going on.
Well,
So you
everybody
want
takes
to,
a knee during the game.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You want to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
You want to completely take it away. Lest I hear about it, I don't care about it. But
Was,
you guys who wear, you know, American flag swim trunks,
mm-hmm.
this is when you want to. This is when you want to do things, and so you know, this is so. Kaepernick is. I've never, whenever he did it, I was like, I get it. He's using the platform, and now a former executive from the NFL is saying Kaepernick needs to be signed.
Yeah.
So
the whole thing about signing
everything's wrong with New Balance, Jody. By the way,
everything is wrong with New Balance. No, that is old balance, is what that is. That is lack of balance. Now, the thing is, when it comes to football,
mm-hmm.
you need to be signed or not based on your capabilities, not because of your political stances.
Right.
And if you are running this man out of your league because of his political stance that he used his platform to make, then that's on you. You know, and people want to talk about, you know, if you go to your job and you know you're expected not to talk about religion and politics there, so why should he? Well, my job isn't to be paid millions and millions of dollars to be a celebrity in front of everybody, because here's the other thing. He is he's one of those guys you can shit talk all day on the internet and not have to worry about a libel lawsuit. You can defame his name all day and you're not going to get sued for it. There's a difference there. He has that platform that he can go out and do something like that. And he did it. And the fact that other people want to sit by the sidelines and say something like that, because I told you about the tweet that somebody said something about that earlier with the like, it was literally today, maybe last night, where somebody was like, well, I just don't understand why you had to do it during the game.
Absolutely.
And my response to this guy was, well, it got your attention, didn't it?
Do
you remember it happening?
Yep. That's all he wanted, was that attention.
And now that his protest is coming back around as the reasoning that people are using. We, you know, the thing is, we try to be peaceful. That's what's being said. We tried to be peaceful, and you shunned us. You put us by the wayside. You talked bad about the whole Black Lives Matter movement. The whole thing has been just absolutely run through the ringer. If you can't understand the message we're trying to send through that, then you're gonna understand this one, and that's the route that's being taken.
Yeah, it's just, do you have my attention now type thing. Is you can't you can't say don't protest like that or like that or like that. Just, you know, sit at home and, you know, hopefully things will be better.
Yeah, call your representatives.
Yeah, it's not. By the way, before we continue, chat, we also want you in this conversation too.
Yes,
okay?
Feel free to open up. That's this whole thing.
This is whenever it's open, like, say whatever you want. Just one major rule, as always in my life: don't be a dick. Okay.
Watch this.
I'm just, because I want all types of opinions, even if we don't agree. At least we can talk about, because this is what we need to do, is talk. So anyway, back to, and we'll kind of wrap up the Kaepernick thing. It's prophetic. He's not a prophecy. It's just prophetic. That the peaceful thing is so powerful now, to the point where, you know, the pictures popping up. The Houston Chronicle put it on the front page of their sports section. And so it's just like, it's coming back, and damn it, he may just be maybe he won't play, but he's definitely going to become one of those figures in this that it's going to become really important when it comes to bridging the gap.
Yeah, yeah. We need that today. You know, we need somebody. Like, as a society, we need somebody to use that platform to show that peace. You know, peace can still reign. You know, peace can still be there. And the thing is, though, this time feels necessary for people to appreciate the idea of a peaceful protest. I mean, because we're talking, like, this is wildly different, man. Like, you know, people, they burned down a police precinct. They stormed CNN. And now you've got the president of the United States trying to rally his people to meet these protesters by declaring MAGA night. And it's going, I don't think it's reached its boiling point in this yet. I don't think it's done escalating.
No, well, several things need to happen before that kind of cools down. First, I mean, you never seen well, I'm not going to say never seen, but the swiftness of a city get rid of those police officers like Minneapolis did. It was,
yeah, they fired
them
immediately.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was like, no, we don't need that. Now, all 4 of them need to be tried. Okay, and I don't even remember the cop's name.
Chauvin was the one that got arrested. That's actually been arrested, and I've heard both sides of the stories on why. You know, like, of course, people are going to not side with the whole 3rd-degree murder thing because of, you know, the implications that it comes with of it not being near as serious.
Absolutely.
But there's also the side of it's a lot easier to get that conviction. And so I've seen both sides of it. It'll be a hell of a lot easier to get a 3rd-degree murder charge conviction on him than it would, say, a first, even though a lot of us do believe it was a 1st degree.
Right.
Because I don't know that it plays a part in it, but something that Hobby brought to my attention was that these two worked together at a club. Like, that's
they were
something
bouncers.
that's something that's completely being overlooked. And I don't know. I do remember seeing that somebody that was there said they don't even know if they knew each other. But the fact that it's not being talked about is a little weird to me.
Right. Yeah. I agree.
Because although there were 20-something security guards working there, and I think Chauvin was, you know, he was hired from outside to work the outside of the club while Floyd worked inside. You know, they had to have crossed paths at least some point.
Absolutely. And even if the 3rd degree, which I don't agree with either, but let's just think about long term, right? He's not going to live this down. No matter how hard. Yeah. No matter how hard you try, you're going to have that forever following you.
Yeah.
And so maybe, hey, you might get, you know, I wouldn't even say a slap on the wrist because that's disrespectful, but you don't get as much time as everybody's thinking. You have to live with this for the rest of your life.
He's not going to enjoy his time in jail either.
No.
If he makes it out.
Like, he's just going to have to be under close supervision. Not wanting anybody dead because, you know, it's not right to, you know, a whole eye for an eye thing. Yeah. But because it's not going to bring George back. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to do anything for the family. Anyway, I do want to show this picture real quick that I found online, and it's a lot of names. I showed Steven, and I don't know if it's going to come through clear, but you can look it up. Right there. The highlighted ones are just some that I really, I mean, obviously I knew about.
The one that broke me, man, was the Tamir Rice one.
Tamir Rice was awful.
That one, I cried over that one, man.
Tamir Rice. The Arbery, Ahmaud Arbery, even though it wasn't a police one, that one still should be discussed because that was also what, February?
Yeah, that was very recent, and the guy was a former police officer.
Yeah. These are things that are happening in the country because, okay, I have to jump in that political space for a second. And I'm not going to even say it's all Trump because let's go back with, Ferguson was under Obama's watch. So it's not a Democrat Republican thing. Sorry. It's just it's odd to me how just out of the what I guess hidden in plain sight kind type thing. It's
Yes.
just
It's something that's always been going on, but
it's
was
all
never
and
covered.
we've all known it, but it's just like it's a scary thing whenever this picture and trust me, this is just I get it, but this picture is I don't care what they did. I don't care if they sold the drug, if they, you know, they were wanted, anything. Okay, we're all people. My race are fucking people. It's not like we are just some kind of sideshow act for a hunt. And so when I saw that and when I read these things, I mean, Philando Castile, another one in Minnesota, by the way, that was just in a car, was stopped because the cops wanted to ID him as a possible person for an armed robbery. Get shot, even though he was willing to tell the cop, "Hey, I'm armed." He was a licensed carrier. Got shot in front of his girlfriend and her kid. What are we doing? This is crazy to me. This is insane to me, and I'm just like, we have to, black, white, Native American, Indian, Mexican, everybody. We got to get together. Like, I don't understand.
Yep.
We are already in a scary spot with COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, and now is this, and it's like we're killing each other. And don't give me the all lives matter thing. Okay, they do. Trust me, they do. But you have to save every life, not just because Black Lives Matter is a reason.
Black Lives Matter. Black lives have to matter for all lives to matter. Is one of the things I saw that because using the idea of all lives matter as the retort to Black Lives Matter is ridiculous because that's like here's a man named Adam Campbell. Don't know him, but I saw his Facebook post and he put it in probably the simplest terms possible that I thought actually made a lot of sense that I've been sharing is that if Bob sits down at the dinner table.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody around Bob gets food, and Bob doesn't get food, and Bob says, "Hey, Bob deserves food," and everybody else just says, "Well, everybody deserves food," and then continues eating.
Exactly. There's one left out.
Yeah, just because Bob deserves food doesn't mean that there wasn't, this doesn't mean that, Bob got the food that he deserved. Everybody deserves food. Bob didn't get his food, kind of thing. It's social justice for people.
It's another one that I saw is a neighborhood. A house is on fire in the neighborhood. All houses matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
They matter. So spray down every house, but there's one on fucking fire that needs more attention than every other one, and that is what crushes me. And I know I'm hopping, but I just thought of it because I saw it today of the all lives matter thing. It's offensive. It's offensive when you want to put, and yes, all races, all ethnicities, they get murdered. Okay. But right here, it's insane. This is just from police. Steven, I told you earlier, some of these were mental health.
Yeah.
They used it as a way of being threatened. Mental health.
The man in
Now, who
Miami,
cares?
right? The one that was the one that got the big press on that was the man in Miami.
But who cares, right? Because I swear to God, if I hear one person say, well, they were criminals anyway, this is why everything's happening. Because nobody really wants to understand. Nobody wants to take the time. And I'm not saying, I'm sorry for being so absolute.
You say what needs to be
But
said, man.
there is too many people that are just okay with it. You may not feel threatened. Okay. You know, I may not really have felt threatened recently, but do you understand? One bad stop, maybe my tail light is out. One bad stop. You know, it's a difference between you walking down the street and me walking down the street. There's a difference. Yes, the Tulsa race riot, 99th anniversary.
That was a big, like, that got brought up during the HBO series of The Watchmen.
The Watchmen,
Because
and that's what actually brought up a lot with Tulsa, because it got put on the spot.
Yeah, because it was not a riot, man. It was a massacre.
It was a massacre, and this is the thing. It's like, who are we? Who are you to say you're better than me? You don't know me. I'm not saying you, Steve, but
No,
I'm just.
I completely understand. I know you.
It's just like people get judged by their cover before opening a book and reading anything.
Every time.
Every time. And this is one of those things. I granted, okay, some of these they may have gone a little too far. But when you have law enforcement using that power like that, it's just insane. When Aubrey is shot down by two people while being recorded, we go back to the recording thing. Mm-hmm. Just because you thought he did something. I can think a lot of people did things, but who are we to do this? You know, who are you to take a life? Don't care who you are. But it's just that this sucks. This really does. I'm afraid for my nieces and nephews, even though they are mixed. I'm afraid because guess what? Their darker complexion shows. Terrified for it. My cousins, everything.
That was one of the, Frankie Mermaid there just posed something that honestly is a hot topic right now that needs to be discussed, and it's qualified immunity, where the cops are automatically given the benefit of the doubt in these things.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things we were talking about that makes this one so different, is that everything was right there, point blank, in front of the camera. And there are so many things that if you don't get the whole video, you're going to have a whole slew of people automatically believing the other person. Like the video, let's take into account the video of the man that pulled a fucking bow and arrow out in Salt Lake City and just yelled "All Lives Matter" as he proceeded to try to draw that arrow back. And they managed to get him down before he could get anybody fired upon. But he was being interviewed not long after that, bloodied up and everything. And he's like, they attacked me through my window. I was in my car and then they drug me out of my car. You were on camera trying to shoot people with a fucking bow.
Yeah.
But people that didn't see that video will give him the benefit of the doubt. And that goes beyond police. That is white people getting the benefit of the doubt.
Hobby, yes. I forget his son.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Hobby's son is half African American.
And so it's just one of those.
One of Nikki's nieces, my wife's niece.
Yes. Yes, I met her.
Thing.
It's one of the craziest things that I'm just, and this goes for any color, because, you know, it's Black Lives Matter, but, you know, still Middle Eastern are being prosecuted for anything and everything. Don't be Hispanic.
That one hits home here. Do you remember what happened at the Superette here?
Yeah.
Where the man was, some guy from Texas come in and had a cane sword. For those of you who do not know, we live, a little bit. I live a little bit south of McAlester, Oklahoma, and we have a little convenience store there that is run by they're from Bangladesh. They're Bangladeshi immigrants, and this man come up from Texas, and so this wasn't even like premeditated because he didn't know these people. He had never been here before, but he had a cane that had the sword in it. And he walked in and he saw this man as somebody from a Muslim majority country, and pulled this sword out of this cane and proceeded to assault him. This man had to be life flighted out of Savannah and into Tulsa to be taken care of, because this man just saw the color of his skin and heard his accent, and immediately the xenophobia and the Islamophobia came out, and he just immediately went to attacking him.
Diane has a friend. Oh boy, I forgot where she said she was, or well, her ethnicity, but she's of Middle East, Lebanon. And I asked her. I was like, I'm just curious, because I just talked to Shy and I just my. I was like, I just wanted to. What effects do you get from? Like, what do you hear? And she hears a lot, because a lot of people can't separate. They're ignorant whenever it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like, let's say white. You're either, really smart as hell, or you're redneck. Black, you're upstanding, or you're thug.
Yeah, the term that usually gets brought up is you dress or sound like a white person.
That is what I've gotten so much. Why? Because I know how to speak properly. Like, that's offensive, because you're saying I shouldn't be smart enough to speak like this, right?
Yeah,
is that what you're telling me?
What you're trying to the point you're trying to get across is that white people carry themselves in a more intelligent fashion than African Americans.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
That's like these people that say, well, maybe if they didn't dress like a thug, or wear their do-rags. So you're telling me that they should ditch their entire culture so they can look and sound like you?
Yeah,
and that's
so you can be
life.
Comfortable. You can be comfortable. Come on, man.
That's bullshit. Because here's the thing: even if for somebody who feels that way, we'll see Jor-El wearing a polo and have his hair, looking nice and all cut and everything, and we'll still have that deep-seated, like, uncomfortable feeling. Because of the color of your skin.
Yeah, that's it.
It's not because of the way you dress. It's not because of the way you talk. It's because of the color of your skin. But they want to sit there and pretend like that if you were to dress and speak like like them, like me, then that makes you automatically look like a better upstanding citizen, and that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because you don't see somebody from India, like a Sikh. You don't see a Sikh wearing the traditional headdress and automatically think anything negative about him. So what is it about your culture's attire that just automatically makes people feel like they should be scared of you?
Because they watch it on the TV.
Because they saw it on fucking TV. Exactly. Exactly.
They saw it on TV, and that's threatening. And that's one of those, typecasting things in the movies and TV shows. Who's the bad? Not every time, but whenever there's generally an African American villain or bad guy, who is he or she? It's got to be part of a gang.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be really violent. Got to be, really abusive. All that kind of stuff. They wear the clothes. They wear the colors. So whenever you see the colors on the street, you can't turn off that's not real.
Right.
Now, granted, there are some like that, but you can't turn it off and okay, maybe not feel comfortable. If you do feel comfortable, talk to me. Talk to us. Like, we don't bite.
Yeah. I mean, there was that one time in Antonio,
right.
but
Right.
That was a circumstance. No.
I thought you were a loaf of bread that you took from me. So, but
see, we can throw a little lightheartedness in there.
Yeah. In all seriousness, man, it's like, that's exactly where it comes from. Every kind of stereotype, it comes from television.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really, after you turn off the TV or leave the movie theater, can't turn it off for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Because they make it feel so real.
Yeah.
That's the way it is, and it sucks. What you know, I don't know. We'll get into that subject a little more later, because I'm sure we'll segue into it. So I'll wait on that. But I was going to bring up the Dylan Roof situation.
Oh, so yeah.
But I don't know if you want to wait for a little bit to kind of segue into that, because that kind of takes it in a whole different direction. But
yeah,
while still being on the same topic,
the hypocrisy of
and the San Antonio shooter, the San Antonio Walmart, or not San Antonio, El Paso, the El Paso Walmart shooter.
Yeah,
these men were ending
the Vegas
lives.
shooter,
the Vegas shooter.
Even though he turned it on himself, but
yeah, but the fact remains, these were people who were in the process of ending human life, and were arrested peacefully. They put a bulletproof vest on Dylan Roof when they arrested him and fed him. This is a man who walked into a church and shot 9 African Americans, and yet he was just taken away like any other normal, just like traffic stop with a warrant for an arrest or something.
Yeah. What about the South Carolina protests? Do you remember the guy who just ran through?
Yeah.
That group of people.
And our so-called president said, "Oh, there's some fine people on both sides, but now these thugs are the ones rioting, looting, and all this stuff."
Mind you, the protest in Michigan about the stay at home, and they went to literally the state capitol armed with guns.
Yeah,
and our president, it's fully behind it. But has he even said a word about this yet? Has he even spoken George Floyd's name yet?
Yeah. He said that people, the people who are looting or rioting are dishonoring George Floyd's name and memory.
Oh, perfect.
Right. I mean, I don't normally like. I try to avoid getting too like full, because let's face facts. What we started this conversation is not necessarily as much political as it is social issues.
Yeah. Yep.
Fuck that guy.
Yep.
I don't typically get political, but fuck that guy. I get very political off stream and away from stuff, just because, like, there's that whole, there are certain aspects you don't want to try to alienate people by being so just vocal about stuff about political things, because you're not going to change anybody's viewpoint on that. Apparently he called George Floyd's family. I think I remember hearing about that too, but I don't remember I never
being
heard.
Factual, I get it. Okay.
Yeah, I do. I don't know what the conversation actually was, or even if they. I mean, I for one wouldn't have wanted it. I wouldn't have wanted the conversation. I wouldn't have wanted to hear from him, because we're kind of stuck in this weird situation, and this is gonna be the last thing I'm gonna say politically. Because I don't want to spark a whole argument about it moving forward, but we're stuck in this weird situation between a man who is perpetrating the idea of racism and police brutality on African Americans, and one of the prime signees of the law that kind of, from 1994, that kind of put all this in place, which is, I mean, I'll end it with this. That's why I'm voting Libertarian, because they actually they actually believe in defunding the police and decreasing police presence. And privatizing the police, so that way that you do a bad job, you get fucking fired. Yeah, you don't get qualified.
You don't get this. Yeah, you don't get slapped on the wrist and get sent home without pay or with pay.
With pay, administratively with pay is the one that they always get. So you're basically telling me they get to sit at a desk instead of being out in the field. Yeah,
you get that. You pretty much protect it anyway.
But I'll leave it at that on the political thing.
Yeah, I try not to, but he has to be brought up in this.
Yeah, in this situation, it's needed, because it's a part of
this. Yeah, he's in the middle of everything when it comes down to unrest. But okay, you're right. I'm going to stop.
No, I mean, you got to remember though, man. This is your show. You light it up however you want. Like I told you before this, man. This is
absolutely
this is headed up by you, because
absolutely.
I mean, we're this whole, let's face facts. This whole idea of I don't see color, that's bullshit.
And that does everybody injustice. Injustice, because you should teach your children to see color, but to respect them for who they are. Period. Because if you say that I don't see color, you're lying to yourself and you're lying to everybody. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because you're just not acknowledging who they are at all.
I think a lot of it comes down to education over ignorance. Like we owe it to future generations to make sure they understand that the cultures are different. But
and it's fine to be different.
Exactly. Everybody's different in some way or another, you know? There's no reason to sit there and belittle somebody because of this perpetrated fear that people who don't understand what's going on are putting out there.
Absolutely. And that is what's kind of, it's disheartening whenever, and obviously that is like a cop-out way of saying, I'm not racist. I don't see color. Well, you do.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If you don't see color, you can't understand the issues.
Yeah, absolutely. You're just trying to hide from it.
Yeah. That's exactly what you're doing. You're trying to. People who say I don't see color are using it. And some people do it with good intentions, and I get it. But the phrasing of that makes it seem like you're downplaying the struggles that the African American community go through because you see everybody just the same as yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem. We're not all the same, but we have to understand.
And that's, if you have like-minded people, let's go with PAX, right?
Mm-hmm.
The huge group. If you have like-minded people, it wouldn't have been fun. Okay, you have to have those contrasts in order to bounce off. Yep, now there is anger. It's no one. Correct. I talked to Cheyenne about that last night, a couple nights ago. Here's one thing I've told my nieces and nephews. I don't have any kids of my own, but to think for yourself. Granted, it's kind of hard whenever you grow up. You gotta be raised by some kind of values, right, Steven? Mm-hmm. So you gotta have something. But once you get to the age where you're going out on your own, you're going to college or just moving out on your own, you have to start formulating your own story. Okay, if you stay on that same path, like Jody said, it's not going to get you anywhere, but it's just going to get being passed down. You're hurting other people that you won't even meet. You know what I'm saying? Like generations probably don't know what they've taught their kids and then their grandkids and all that goes down. It's just a trickle effect of shit. It's awful.
If you don't learn to carve your own path, then things like me and you being friends won't happen.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm going to be 100%. Like as we said when this whole thing started, if I would have just believed everything I was taught growing up and not learned things for myself, then there's a good possibility me and you couldn't be friends. And
that would have been unfortunate because we've had some good times and
amazing times. And you're literally one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And that come from just learning that it's okay to be different, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it's fine. No matter who you are. And I know this is a race, driven conversation, but religious, political, sexual orientation, Marvel or DC, comic book stuff, I told you we'd bring it back.
All right, let's not get too controversial. Okay, not right now.
Whatever it is, it's fine. Because guess what? It's going to be so boring. That's your best friend, cough.
Said one of your best friends.
Because it'd be so boring if you talk to the same person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, it would get super boring if all you did was sit there and just talk about the same shit and agree on everything all day, every day.
You're right. But you learn to accept it, and you learn that you could learn something from one person. The Snyder Cut is coming. I'm ready for it. You learn from one person and another. What is going on there?
I've been tinkering with a piece of green screen fabric like the entire conversation, and I had it wrapped around my finger and I forgot. So I'm like, oh wait, I can do this.
You're speaking right.
Yeah, you can't even see my mic anymore. Here, I'll just boom. There we go. Then it's like,
but just to get that out, because I love everybody. Unless you're an asshole to me, then you're dead to me. But
Yeah,
Oh,
that's I mean, and that's how it should. You judge people based on their actions, not
not their
not their
looks.
looks, not their appearances, not their not because here's the thing: all true belief, like you mentioned religion, in
Hmm.
all true belief systems, do not advocate hating other people for differences.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know, a lot of these, racist white conservative people are quote unquote Christian. Listen to the
Yeah.
word. Listen to the word you're taught. Don't hate people because they're different than you. But
And,
they want to nitpick. They want to nitpick, pick and choose what they want to use out of it,
yeah. And
and then they
then,
want to use the cop out of, oh well, I mean, even if it is wrong, God will forgive me.
mind you, this is
You can judge people based on
all
smell, by the way. TikTok. Yes,
about smell.
100%. You can
Yeah.
judge by smell.
Um, but this is just all kind of, it's been jumbled in my mind since we talked about it. And it's like, I got to put it in some kind of format,
Yeah.
because normally we're just like, let's throw it out to, see what sticks. But this is something that I'm so glad you brought up, because I wasn't even thinking about it. I was like, whenever you said it at first, I was like, bringing Slipers only back. But I agree. And this needs to be talked about. And whoever's here listening, whatever your opinions are, I'm not trying to sway you or anything. I'm just trying to say, be a good person. If you don't like a race, or I mean, granted, that's racism's never going to end. You know, but just be a good person. Maybe find out about the person.
Yeah.
You never know.
Take your insecurities to somebody. Don't hold on to your pride so hard that you can't take your insecurities to somebody, because 9 times out of 10, if you approach somebody respectfully that's different than yourself and say, listen, I don't understand, can you please explain to me from your point of view, and go in there with the idea that you're going to be calm about it, that you're not going to hear something that they're going to say and immediately just spark a riot in your mind and be like, nope, that's not how it works. And because it may not be how it works for you, but you don't understand what they are going through or what they've been through.
You never know who your neighbor's, not house name, but your neighbor's going to be that you're going to have to get help from. You never know. It could be a strange bedfellow that, boom, is somebody like, oh my gosh. You never know. Could be a saving grace for you. And I'm not, that's just kind of, a selfish thing, but it's just to be good to each other, because, we're killing off each other no matter what race. It's like we're killing off each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy to me that we live in a country, and I love this country, but we live in a country that boasts to be the most advanced, king of the mountain. And yet we're still, when it comes to race wise, we're still in the fucking old days.
And they try to teach us a lot growing up about the whole idea of the melting pot, like that
Yes.
America is the diverse melting pot. And I will give credit, like even here, that's something that we were taught in small town Oklahoma school, was that America prides itself on being this melting pot of different cultures, and it's supposed to be this thing that separates us from other countries because we have such a high diversity of cultures and people. But we can't overlook our own prejudices to actually be proud of that fact.
And that's a
terrifying.
good word. Proud. The pride of a person is what's killing a lot of people.
Yeah, because nobody wants to admit they're wrong.
Yeah.
The day that you can understand that your point of view can be wrong and you can rectify it by admitting it,
you're a new person.
You're a new person. Exactly. I'll give you a prime example of something that happened to me recently and it's this easy. It's this easy. I was defending the Ultimate Fighting Championship tooth and nail over them holding cards during this COVID thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because whenever they flew the fighters in, they were testing them on the spot, they're trying to keep them apart and everything like that. And that was what I was seeing. And somebody, a friend of mine, I'll even name drop, his name's Horror Historian. He was outspoken against it, and I was like, well, man, they're doing their best to try to maintain safety. There's nobody in the crowd. They're keeping people socially distanced and testing people on the spot, which is why Jor-El tested positive, and they canceled the fight, sent him home. You know, they gave him his money for showing up, and they gave Uriah Hall his money, the guy he was supposed to fight, but they sent him home. And he, you know, me and him had an argument about it. And then it came out that apparently Jacare had told the UFC that somebody in his household had tested positive for COVID-19, and they still flew him in for the fight and everything like that. And then him and two of his coaches tested positive. And the very first thing I did when I heard that news was I reached out to him and I said, "Hey man, I was wrong, and I'm sorry for starting that argument on it. I found this out, and I just wanted to say I'm sorry for being as belligerent as I was about it, because I did not have all the facts." And you know what ended up happening? He was like, man, there's no need to apologize. You were just making the best argument you had on the information that you had. Oh, lo and behold, he didn't hit me with the whole, "You see, I fucking told you," or anything like that.
Yeah.
Break down your pride. Admit that maybe your point of view is not necessarily the best, and open your fucking eyes and educate yourself.
Yep.
And then admit, oh, well, shit, okay, now I can see. Now I can see that this is the way this is. It's time to change my outlook.
And that's okay. That it's all right to. It's just like, you know, when your food palate changes over the course of time, right? When you're little, you didn't like tomatoes. You grew up, oh my gosh, tomatoes are the best damn things ever. It's okay to change, to evolve, you know. And if that means kind of breaking what you're comfortable with, guess what? You're living.
Exactly.
You're testing yourself. But if you want to stick and be complacent, now I'm just not saying if you want to be complacent, you do your thing, but don't bring your insecurities out on somebody else since you are complacent. Just because you see somebody that's, you know, let's say you see two dudes holding hands, guess what? That's none of your business.
It has nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with you. You keep moving. If you don't want to look at it, put your head down. That's fine.
Yeah, but just mind your fucking business. It has nothing to do with you. Live and let live.
That's it.
Don't go in there with this like fear that something bad's going to happen to you just because that person's different. Mind your fucking business and move on.
Yeah.
And now on the flip side of this same thing about, you know, being able to overcome, you know, insecurities of your past, there's also a flip side of that comes along with especially with like social media in the modern era. We got to let people be able to overcome their past. You know,
Absolutely.
that's like so here's the thing. You know, I'm trying to grow my brand on Twitch, and I'm trying to provide content for people that want to consume my brand of content. And I have been so closed up and insecure about my past being raised in a racist environment because of fucking cancel culture. You know, people are so quick to say something about, you know, and try to shut somebody down because of the way they were raised, you know, because they said something long ago in their past. And with celebrities, it's whatever, because you're not going to get rid of them for, you know, like the idea that people were trying to cancel Robert Downey Jr. because of Tropic Thunder, because these kids never saw the movie, they don't understand the whole thing. But like, I was worried to admit about my past of being raised in that environment because I was terrified that my entire brand essentially was going to end up wrecked over this, because people would be like, "Oh, well, he was a racist, and once a racist, always a racist," and they just shut you down. And that's whenever you're trying to do something like this, that becomes scary. And that's one thing that I really encourage is, if you see somebody that is trying to genuinely overcome the faults and the insecurities of their past, you've got to let them, because that falls in a different yet similar category of judging people based on face value.
Yep. You don't know. You don't know. This is the whole thing. You open the book.
Give them a chance to prove themselves.
Help them. You know.
Exactly.
Just don't, like, all right, you're done. And there's a lot of people that say, you know, there's some that were justified, like, you've got to be done. Yeah, that's it. You know. But anyway, kind of wrap it up, because my throat is starting to lose it. But I just want to, you know, just like I said before, I'm all over the place with this, but no matter who you are, you know, I keep showing this. And you know what? If you don't look it up, it's from NPR. Okay.
Oh, NPR
If you
put
want
that list out?
to, yeah, yeah, NPR. If you want to look that up, just look at the names. There's some that I learned about today because they weren't really, but the ones that are highlighted, Eric Garner kicked it. It seemed like kicked it off. Michael Brown, the Ferguson, Aubrey, Botham Jean. Whenever he was in his own apartment, and a lady walked in his apartment and killed him.
Yeah.
It's just things like that. And she was an officer. We have to take. Yeah, that's tough. We have to take care of each other. We have to love each other because guess what? We're going to have to be around, even though we may be in different states or different towns or different countries. We still have to be around each other because we're under this flag. We're Americans. We're citizens of this country that is supposed to be advanced. And so let's advance how we treat each other because that's not going to work. It's going to come up to the time where it's going to be another civil war if this continues.
Yeah, and the thing is, like now, people have been talking about the idea of it being like another civil war.
Yeah,
but I'm not so sure it's as much that as it's going to be another revolution because people are starting to realize
even better.
Because
even better.
When you look at it, like now the basis of this current situation is around race, but it's quickly evolving into civilians versus corrupt police officers because you're seeing. Let's not ignore the fact that you are seeing some positive communications. I don't know if you saw the video from Flint, Michigan today, where the sheriff walks in this middle of these protesters and he has his helmet off, he has his baton down, and he says, "Listen, we want to be here with you guys. We don't turn this into a parade. I put my helmet, my baton over there. What do y'all want us to do?" And somebody said, "Walk with us." And then the chants began, "Walk with us." And he looks around and he goes, "Then let's walk." And they took off together. And I watched that video a dozen times, and it had me in tears to see that the hope is still there.
It's still there, and I don't think it's going to go away. Like I said, it's just the rotten bunch of them is just taking over.
It's too much. There's too many.
And it's too many, and there's too many. I don't care how many times I put this up, but that's too many. Okay? That is too many of them that we just cannot do this anymore. It's got to stop. And unfortunately, another one's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part. No matter how much, another one is going to be added to this list. And it's then what? But I don't want to. Let's just bring this up to a crescendo of hope. There is hope. That I've seen a lot of good come out of it. I've seen a lot of races bond together, join arms or hands, or just walk, like you said, walk with each other.
I will say, man, like the one thing I've seen that's different with this situation compared to the past is the fact that there is a sense of unity coming out, even amongst people who typically are not on this side of the fence in this situation. There are a lot of cop apologists that are saying, no, that's wrong.
That's too much. And I don't care, like Facebook. This is just me now being nitpicking. If I see another MLK quote or another just a random quote plastered on top of a black celebrity's face, making it seem like they said it, I will snap. that's just one of my things, because, and let's just face facts, is a lot of white people that are doing this. And you know what, if you want to use your platform, let's not act like white privilege isn't a thing. Okay, use it for good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Don't deny that it exists. Use it.
Yeah, use it. Help us. You may have a bigger voice than us. Help. That's it. Just don't sit behind a keyboard and post something that you really don't know what it's about. You probably looked up peace and MLK, bam, we're done. Okay. Don't do that. Don't put up a video of something that just seems scared. Okay.
The one,
Just
the one that gets me, man, is, and I'm seeing it because this shit, Twitter is really bad about this. But the one I hate seeing white people say things like Martin Luther King would be rolling over in his grave right now if he saw what you were doing. Shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah. And I'm not going to speak, but I'm not going to speak for him. I'm just going to say hypothetically, if he was still alive and saw this, how do you know?
I mean, I'll use one of his quotes. You know, the riot is the language of the unheard. I think that is the most relevant quote to this situation.
Yeah.
So the people need to be heard.
Yeah.
They need to be heard, not hurt. You know.
Like, yeah. And a lot of people are like, "Are we doing the Malcolm X approach or the MLK approach?" And it shouldn't be. That's just mean. That's just kind of ignorant. It should be more of a, how are we just going to get this message across approach? How am I going to do it? Mm-hmm. Because you can't have, Malcolm X, he had this militant side, but you can't do that. You can't. That's ignorant to me. But to wrap it up, let's just be good to each other, no matter gay, straight, white, black, yellow, Baptist, Catholic. Let's just be good to each other. Steven, you got anything?
I just add on top of that, just remember, in the end, we're all people.
We are.
This is supposed to be the melting pot. I mean, be proud of the fact that we're so diverse. Don't be scared of it. Stand up for what's right, not what is lawful necessarily. Like, I'm not saying go out and commit crimes, but things that people in, within the law enforcement side are not necessarily doing things that are morally right. And you've got to look out for what's morally right for the people, like the whole thing, we the people,
yeah.
we're in this together.
For us, we need to look out for everybody,
because nobody else is going to look out for us. The whole idea of to protect and serve and to take care of us and be, because the government officials are supposed to be civil servants. They're not doing it anymore. It's up to us to take care of ourselves and take care of each other
and make it. Yeah,
that's it.
He said go out and riot, but Lucas, make a peaceful statement. Anyway, guys, I'm so glad to be back. I know it took forever, but between COVID and me losing my job for a month and just being in my head, I had to, maybe this was a good way to come back. But we are. So get ready for whatever. I don't have anything planned yet, but get ready for it.
Follow us on Twitter at @SlappersO if you're not already.
And that is it. The reference Fin TV.
And it's just Revs Fin.
Revs Fin. Where's the TV? Or is that on?
TV's on all my social medias.
Oh, okay. All right, there it is. Anyway, it was good to be back.
Yeah, we'll get a chat bot set up for this next time, so that way whenever you put Twitter, it'll do that. But
oh, Lucas. By the way, hold on. I know. We should have ended on that, but I got a big surprise from them today. I was at work. First, it came off as a sketchy phone call, but anyway, Lucas came in, and it was a big surprise. And then Steven comes by, and we spent a little bit of time. Should have a pep reading. Jody, if you want to see a man die on Twitch, I'll do it.
Trigger
because but Lucas and Steven, and they even brought me lunch. They brought me some Ringos, and I appreciated it. But I needed that because I didn't want to be there today. But on that note, everybody have a good night.
We're gonna send our love over to Drew. He's streaming right now. We're gonna raid out to him. The old Drew Phillip Drawers. So, Drew actually has a lot to do with where we're both at now. Getting to meet him and learn some stuff from
Absolutely.
him. Him being so kind to us has been huge. So we're gonna go show our love to him. But my parting words will always be just you take a page out of Bill and Ted's book. Be excellent to each other.
That's it. Bye.
Bye.